Yeah, so we have a pretty busy agenda tonight. We're going to go over some fundraising updates, where we are in the year right now. We're going to talk about some reminders and about a little bit of CGO recruitment coming up this spring. We're going to have a preview of Con Giving Day, which is on April 4th and 5th this year, coinciding with Founders Day. And then last but not least, we're going to hear from Chip Clothier, class of 79. Michael is going to give a fundraising update, but I believe he was hopping on from another call before this. So we can go ahead and go to my part about reminders and recruitment, and we'll come back to fundraising. So first up is that spring CGO letters are in progress right now. All of you have received them from your class liaisons. We need edits back by this Friday, March 1st. Edits are not required, but they are encouraged. The idea behind having one template for all the classes is that the letter is ready to go as it is, but it also gives you guys the opportunity to make any changes or personalizations. If there's something in particular your class wants to emphasize, you can do that. One of the classes that I work with added a couple of sentences to emphasize how close they were to reaching their goal this year, because they really wanted to showcase that and that they only had a little bit further to go. Another class that I worked with last fall wanted to add a little humor to the letter. So it's really up to you all. Whether or not you have any changes or if you think it's good to go, please let your class manager know so that we can get those letters going. An update on class gift officer giving. We have a goal for the year of 100% participation. So far, 67% have given, which is great. Con Giving Day up ahead is a great opportunity to make your gift. We have CGOs from the classes in the 1950s to the 2020s. We know everybody is at different stages in their life, and gifts of any amount count, I just want to emphasize. So this spring, we're also going to be working on some recruitment efforts to get more people in our great group. As we all know, asks from peers are 3 times more effective than asks from the institution. We're going to be doing some email outreach, social media, and some also targeted outreach to individuals that will all be done by staff. But the best way to get the word out is by word of mouth from you all as fellow volunteers. If there's somebody that you know that you think would make a great volunteer that would be interested, please let us know. The classes that we have the highest need for volunteers for are on the screen. We will send this out to you in an update. You don't need to write it down. But if you happen to know somebody in any of those classes, in your class, in another class, above or below you, a friend, let us know if you think they'd be interested. Any questions about that?
Oh, I was wondering, this is Joanne Hartley. They call me Jody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I was wondering if we are doing what they do at Williams College that you talked about on one of the earlier calls, and getting people as they leave the institution at graduation.
Yes, we are hoping to do that this year. We already have a list of some students who have been really involved and engaged on campus, and who have also worked as student advancement officers. So we're hoping to get a great 2024 group too.
It'll be interesting to see how that works, because I was fascinated by it. Starting that early and getting them to think about it even before they walked out the door.
Happy memories are fresh.
I had a grandson that just graduated from Williams a couple of years ago, and I keep asking him, how's it going? We're using you as our gold standard.
Great. All right. Shelby, let's take it backwards to our update on fundraising and where we're at so far.
Thank you, Emily. Hi, everybody. Sorry to be a little bit late to our meeting, but I just wanted to go over our fundraising progress to date. We all know that we have a $7,050,000 Connecticut College Fund goal. This represents the most ambitious Connecticut College Fund goal in the college's history. In fiscal year 22, we raised $6.86 million for the CC fund, which currently stands as our record. So we are really trying to exceed that. And every gift counts. Certainly, we're encouraging as many contributions at our 1911 Society as possible in order to help us to reach that. I do want to share that 7.5% of the college's operating budget comes from the Connecticut College Fund. So it really is important in terms of especially being able to drive the college's ability to offer extremely generous financial aid packages, where the average package is 50 body. Also, the size of the college's operating budget is a heavily weighted factor in terms of where Connecticut College will be ranked in college ranking publications. And our ability to meet our Connecticut College Fund goal will provide the opportunity to increase our college's operating budget over time. So again, it's important for now in terms of the immediate need for our students, faculty, and the community, but also over time, it actually helps to improve the college's overall ranking. We have raised, let's call it $4 million to date, 57% of goal. We know how we need to go and close that gap to get to goal. And a big part of it is going to be about our Connecticut College overall Giving Day that we'll be hearing about soon. The way that our goal breaks down is for unrestricted support, which is many things. It's financial aid, scholarships, the area of greatest need. We have a $6.1 million goal. We are 57% of the way to goal. For DEI, we have a $150,000 goal. We did not meet that goal last year. I'm happy to say that we are well on track to meet that goal in our current year. And again, we'll have a focus on DEI throughout the community as part of our upcoming Giving Day. And then we have our Camel Athletics fund goal of $750,000, and we're currently 54% of goal there. And again, we will have some targeted communications going on out to alumni athletes, as well as parents and families of current student athletes as part of our upcoming Con Giving Day. We are slightly ahead of last year in terms of our alumni donor count. Last year, we finished at 4,503 alumni donors. Internally, we're feeling confident about our 5,000 alumni donor goal. And we recently had a solicitation that went on out to recent donors around Valentine's Day, where we're starting to see some more donations come on in. And we also know that our spring CGO letters leading up to our upcoming overall Giving Day is going to help us to see that that number increase significantly and really close that gap between where we are now at 2,581 alumni donors and close in on our goal of 5,000 alumni overall alumni donors. So that's where we are in terms of our CC fund kind of progress to goal and goals. Are there any kind of questions or feedback that we can provide before moving on to moving on to our next area?
Michael, it's Tammy. Just quick question. How many alumni are we up to now? Like, what is our total camel herd these
Yeah,
days?
yeah. So our alumni solicitable base is currently at approximately 25,800.
Okay,
So
thank
again, about 260 alumni moves our participation by 1%. And over time, we've been seeing, I mean, not every year, but if you take the last 5 years on average, we've been seeing an increase in alumni donors, but participation has been going down a little bit because our solicitable base continues to increase. I will share that alumni who have graduated since 2000, so basically 2000 through 2023, are now 40% of our solicitable base.
Okay.
So again, in terms of being able to build that pipeline over time, we're going to put our best foot forward to attracting as much inclusive philanthropy, which is participation of any amount from our younger alumni, and that's going to help us to basically sustain a strong donor pipeline over time for the continued and future success of Conn College.
Thanks.
Yes.
Michael, I had a question.
Hi, Noel.
Hi, Michael. So you said that 40% of the solicitable base is from the class of 2000 forward to 2023. Have you done an analysis about within that cohort what their percentage of that group donates and how to
Okay.
reach that group more effectively if they're lower on the participation rate? Because I noticed when you were looking for recruitment of CGOs, that group doesn't have a lot of CGOs.
Yeah, no, and it's a good point. So last year, our baseline alumni participation rate was 18%. Okay, which is about 4,500 out of about, I think, 25,500, somewhere around there. So we had a baseline participation rate of 18%. Alumni from the 2000s, so 2000 through 2009, our last year were at about 13% participation. And then alumni from 2010 through 2023 were at 10%. The base of alumni from 2010 through 2023 is 5,746, and alumni from 2000 through 2009 are about 3,981. So again, if like the weighted average of those two is probably about 11.8%. So that is where we have the potential to increase participation and certainly increase our alumni donor count over time. The other thing that's interesting is last year from our alumni donors, 76% of them had made a gift in fiscal year 22, and then 24% of them were either new or lapsed alumni donors. But it means that, again, once an alum makes a gift and they're stewarded effectively, it's so much more likely that they're going to continue to give on an annual basis. So getting them in the door is going to significantly increase the likelihood that we'll see continued contributions from them over time. Part two of your question, which is certainly the non-analytical, but more important part, is how do we effectively reach them and meet them where they are? So over time, and when I say over time, over the last 5 years, the number of alumni who graduated since 2010 who are giving to specific areas of the college have increased. So alumni who graduated since 2010, about a third of the donors have been contributing to specific sports teams in the Camel Athletic Fund, partially because they're hearing from their coaches and their teammates. They want to hear from kind of voices that they are familiar with, that are meaningful to them, and whether it's a gift of $5 or $500, they want to contribute to an area of the college that was essentially foundational and especially meaningful to their con experience. So for us, that takes more time because we have to interact with each of the coaches. We need to be able to accurately capture voices. We need to put those communications on out there. And it really is about contemporary personalization when it comes to a younger alumni audience. The other thing that moves that needle is hearing from peers, hearing from classmates, hearing from like fellow alumni, even if they're not in that same class, who were in the same kind of social circles, who were in the same classrooms, who were in the same a cappella groups. That peer-to-peer really helps to move the needle for all alumni, but it's especially pronounced in terms of our younger alumni classes. And now we just need to figure out how to do that at scale.
Can I add to Noel's question, actually?
Sure.
This is Frank Shore, class of 89. How are you, Michael? I'm wondering do you have any data as to whether or not that is a common problem amongst peer schools, or is it a con problem?
No, it is a common problem. And I will just go and share that we had this last week, we've actually been diving into this. So we took a look at 25 of our cohort schools. And these are schools that a lot of you will all be familiar with. All of these schools have been seeing participation drops, which are caused by their younger alumni. Meaning not the cause, but that's what's causing the decrease in participation. The smallest decrease over the past 5 years is a drop of 4 percentage points in alumni participation, and the most pronounced is 13 percentage points in terms of a decrease. Over that same period of time, Connecticut College has gone down by 7 percentage points. So we're about in the middle of that. So again, among our cohort schools with around the same size student body, the same size kind of alumni base, we are seeing that common trend. So we are sharing information because the interesting thing is oftentimes, more often than not, we're not competing for the same alumni donors because they went to another school and ours came to Con. So we are sharing ideas about what is effective, and a lot of it is about calls to action, going and creating a sense of urgency, contemporary personalization, and then over time, the most important correlation to increasing alumni participation is the number of active alumni fundraising volunteers. And there's no getting around that. And when we take a look at some place like Williams, they've got about 1,000 active fundraising volunteers, and we're at about 130. So over time, that's something that we want to do, is to go and build that on up. And that's going to be our most kind of sustainable approach to ensuring we have a resource engine over time. I hope that helps to answer some of that, Frank. Great.
Yeah, and Chip and others on the alumni board, correct me if I'm wrong, but we spent some time talking about this and how to leverage reunion and other touch points. And, we have a process in place for class of 89, to bring in more CGOs and make sure that we have, a bank of class officers. So unfortunately, I missed the last meeting, but I'm hoping that we can continue to advance that, because that seems to me a pretty significant gap when you're talking about we're less than 200 and other schools have over 1,000.
The other thing to keep in mind is that for a lot of students coming out today versus earlier years, is many of them, or the majority of them, are coming out with some debt.
Yeah.
That debt they perceive as being they're still paying the college, even though they're paying the debt, not the college. And so they need to get that off their balance sheet before they can start to think philanthropically, or they're at least more particular about their philanthropy. So our challenge is, as Michael said earlier, find something that hits their sweet spot and we can get them to respond. We're not asking for the world, we're just asking for participation.
Chip, I also think along with that, there's a cultural component with that debt issue. And that I think that a lot of graduates are posing the value proposition of how much they paid for college, right? Which we can't combat, right? So we just have to, I honestly am still, listen, we have a lot of CGOs in our class, but we still combat the belief that if I can't give $250, my donation doesn't count, doesn't mean anything, right? We say over and over again, we'll take $10.
Yeah, that's something that we're trying to address at a broader level, which is we need to do a better job of demonstrating both to the alumni and to the world the importance of connections, because the connections curriculum, in my mind, replaces something that existed once before. So when you graduated from Con, organizations, doesn't matter whether it was business, arts, sciences, whatever, hired you because you had a good liberal arts training, and then they put you in a training program and you began to work for them in the way that they wanted you to work for them. A lot of organizations have eliminated the training process because it was expensive and they'd lose people after they trained them. What Connecticut College has done is created through the Connections program a new bridge that extends from Con to employers by providing all of the introductions, the training, the internships that make Connecticut College students more marketable. So when we talk about the value proposition of liberal arts, I believe we have a message we can deliver that a lot of liberal arts schools can't. Now, the other side of that is the price, and there is no question that all colleges need to relook at how they charge for tuition. Anything else on that? I didn't mean to
What do you mean by how they charge for tuition?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean by how they charge for tuition? How much?
I'm talking about the price tag.
The one price tag.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about 88 grand right now.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah, think about what it was when you all were there.
God.
So
I was there so long ago. That's just amazing.
All right. Well, in the interest of staying on schedule and making sure we have enough time to hear from Chip and also have some more questions at the end, let's see. Shelby, are you ready to share your screen again? Okay. So Shelby's going to share with us a preview of Con Giving Day, which is on April 4th and 5th. We will have much more information for you all than what she's going to share now. In a couple of weeks, we'll share a toolkit, which will have sample scripts and materials like that. But Shelby's just going to give us an introduction.
Yes, just a quick little teaser, the inside scoop on Giving Day. So as Emily mentioned, April 4th and 5th for 1911 minutes will be our spring giving initiative this year. The last year it was 1911 minutes, but we had it at the end of April. And in the years before we had been doing it around Founders Day. So we're kind of combining the best of both worlds, realigning it with Founders Day, and doing it at the beginning of April. Our overall goal for this initiative, as we've been working on throughout the entire year, is continuing to build that culture of philanthropy in our community, and most importantly for the spring, knowing where we are with fundraising, activating our leadership donors in our 1911 Society. The overall messaging will be very consistent with what we've been using this fiscal year in terms of imagining Con's future together. It'll be an opportunity to celebrate Founders Day, showing support for the college, and focusing in on why supporting the CC Fund is important, and what it means for Con to have that alumni support. And of course, our goal is 1911 donors between alumni, parents, families, and friends. So for those of you that have been volunteering with us for the last couple of years, you may remember that we normally have the same kind of campaign page where we have the donor count at the top and there's some information on the page. We had some internal transitions in advancement, and we no longer have a vendor for those campaign pages. We're transitioning and making some moves to better the future of the CC Fund and of advancement. So in the meantime, we're going back to the basics. It'll be very simple and straightforward. This mostly means that there won't be any type of leaderboard. There also won't be any live donors or dollars to track on the page. Although I will say we are planning to do kind of a time-stamped update of donors so that we can track our progress to reaching that 1911 goal. It'll just be periodically throughout the day, and it'll have, you know, a little timestamp of when it was last updated. So we'll be doing that. It just won't be live like previous campaigns have been. And because of that, because our online platform experience will be a little bit more toned down, this Giving Day is going to be heavily driven by that one-on-one outreach, not only from staff and advancement and our student advancement officers, but also from all of you as volunteers, as well as our parent and family council members. And really emphasizing that one-on-one outreach and building those connections, and kind of threading through the community to get participation for Giving Day and joining the celebration. We are in the process of securing challenge and match funds to go along with our Giving Day. This is one of those things that we'll have more information for in the next couple of weeks, as Emily prepares those resources for all of you. I know that in the past, we've heard feedback of wanting to have that information earlier. I can say that we have started on a good pace this year in terms of starting these solicitations and working on them. Our leadership gift officers are actively having conversations with people, and we are working through that, and we'll have more details on those so you can use those in your communications to kind of motivate your peers to participate. We're also going to be using as many channels and partnerships we have with an advancement to promote Giving Day early, to get gifts in early so that we can get a head start on reaching that goal of 1911 donors. The CC Magazine had a save the date in there for Giving Day. We're partnering with alumni and parent engagement on Camels Connect. Those events are happening on April 4th. I have a little bit of a sneak peek on the next slide for you about the event, but that overlap with those events and Founders Day and Con Giving Day was very intentional on our part, working with our partners in APE. There will be a donation option on the form when you register for the event, and every donation that you make that's made when someone registers will count in Giving Day. And we're working with them to make sure that we're segmenting appropriately, that we're not going to overwhelm email inboxes and flood social media. We're being very strategic in how we're communicating that. So just a heads up for those. But if you're in the areas for any of those events, definitely recommend. We'll be plugging it in the alumni newsletter this month, or in March and in April. Of course, we have our CGO class letters and emails. Those are key for getting in some of those early gifts. In the templates that you all received, there's a really key piece of that in encouraging people to give in support for Con Giving Day. Any of those gifts that come back from that will be part of it. So that's kind of the first opportunity for you all. Where you can be of the most help is getting back to your class managers, and really leading by example with participation for Giving Day. And then, of course, some social media. There will be some partnership with our communications team and doing some kind of fun and engaging content for like the purpose of the annual fund and for the impact at the college, and kind of teasing it a little bit as we lead up to Giving Day. So some of those things, it'll be, you know, the same kind of involvement that you all are used to, that we've talked about for previous initiatives we've had this year in terms of the outreach for your classmates, and engaging on social media, and of course, leading by example with your own participation at whatever level that you want to contribute at. And Emily will have more details on those specific ways that you can all help in the coming weeks. And then speaking of Camels Connect, a little bit of a teaser. The registrations are going live, I think next week. The events are all on April 4th. And these are the locations that are currently being finalized. So if you're in any of those areas, be on the lookout. You can make your gift when you register. And then you can hang out and celebrate Founders Day and celebrate Con and your community with some fellow Campbells in the area. Before
Yes,
I pass it back to Emily, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, before I pass it back to Emily, does anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts about Giving Day?
And we might have a couple more locations. This is all like not public yet, but these are the locations that they have confirmed are happening. They might have a couple more. And I think about a week later, they have a couple scheduled, one in London, England, and the other in Naples, Florida. There will still be Camels Connect events, but we weren't able to, for one reason or another, have them on the 4th.
I think I'm going to have to go to London right after Giving Day.
I know. All right. Well, if there aren't
Wonderful.
any other questions, then
Dave, are you waving to say hi, or do you have a question?
There we go. Thank you. In the generic letter that went out, there was an implication that if, and the schedule for that letter, as I understand it, is the second week in March.
Mhm.
There's language in that letter that says if you start giving to Giving Day right now in March, that those donations count,
Mhm.
as well as those on the 4th.
Mhm.
Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, for the
Could it-
classes.
Could it
Oh, go
please
ahead.
be, could it be worded a little better to say, you don't have to wait till the 4th, you can give now and it will count? Just make that language a little stronger, please. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And yeah, any of the classes that are getting mailed letters, the remit envelopes that we typically include in all of our mail pieces will be specifically branded for Giving Day. And then same with the email, the link that they'll have will go for the Giving Day campaign. So any of the gifts from that will count for Giving Day. But we can definitely take another look at that and make it a little bit stronger and clearer for
It
you.
might be helpful if you at least internally could establish a date when
Mhm.
you're going to start counting and let us know.
Definitely.
All right. Any other questions about Giving Day? And we will have much more information, as well as I emailed in January and let you all know we would have a CGO meeting on March 25th just to talk about Giving Day and any last minute prep. All right. Well, without further ado, fellow CGO Chip Clothier has graciously agreed to speak with us from his role as president of the Alumni Association Board of Directors. So, Chip, I'll turn it over to you. And let's see, I think you're still on mute.
Yeah, there we go. First of all, forgive me. Number one, I'm under a very harsh light. I apologize for that. And secondly, as you may be able to tell, I have a cold. So I will do my best. I'm stuffing my mouth with Hall's mentholated whatevers, so that I'm not hacking all over what I have to say. The first topic I wanted to offer up is progress on the presidential search. As you may have been reading, we had almost 100 applicants. We spent several meetings as a search committee going through all of the applicants to whittle it down to a group that we would like to meet. We met with them during two very long days at the beginning of March, beginning of February, where we basically had a list of prescribed questions so that everybody had the same questions. Each candidate had the same questions. They had the same amount of time. We also gave them the same amount of time to ask us questions, which we answered honestly. We recognize that these candidates are shoppers too, and we want them to know Connecticut College for all its great things and for its opportunities. From there, we whittled it down to the finalist candidates. The finalist candidates were in the New London area last week, meeting with a group of what we call invited interviewers. Invited interviewers were for each of the campus stakeholders. So we're talking staff, faculty, and students. They were allowed to nominate 10 people, of which the co-chairs would pick 6, and they would become invited interviewers. They had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. They were given unbiased training, and they got the opportunity to meet the candidates. That was completed towards the end of last week. The trustees are going to be, a group of trustees are going to be meeting with them this coming week. And then there'll be a final meeting of the Presidential Search Committee and probably 1 or 2 meetings with the Board of Trustees. At the end of the day, it's the job of the Board of Trustees to select the president. But it's been very clear all the way along that we purposely gathered information from all these constituencies so that we had their input in making our decision. I can tell you I've learned a lot in sitting in a room with staff and faculty and students. It's been interesting to hear the conversation between faculty and students, staff and faculty, and so on. It's been very enlightening. I will say that the love for this college is unbounding among the search committee, and that the candidates are duly impressed with Connecticut College. This is not an easy time to be the president of any college. And the quality of the people that we brought in, we got feedback from the invited interviewers that they were very impressed. So it's our expectation that sometime probably in late March, we'll be announcing, so sorry, we'll be announcing the new president, the 12th president of Connecticut College. Let me just grab a sip. Are there any questions on that? No?
Well,
Okey-doke.
I have
What?
a question.
Sure.
How confident are you that the committee's first choice and the trustees' first choice will be somebody who is truly wanting to accept the job?
I'm pretty confident that all of the finalists have made it clear that they're extremely interested in the job. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Thank you.
So, anybody else? Okey doke. I just wanted to say a couple of things to back up some of the stuff that's been said tonight. As you know, the Alumni Board works on 2 basic principles. One is to engage the alumni, and the second is to help the college with fundraising. You guys are the gold mine of fundraising, and we really appreciate it. And I think there's an opportunity for us to learn more about your success. I mean, Noelle and I go back and forth because Noelle has turned it into a money-making machine. She is incredible. And she, the class of '89 is one to really look up to. But I think there are opportunities for us, not on this call, but other calls, to talk more generically about what works for us and what doesn't work for us. Because one of the issues that we need to zero in on is, as we get volunteers into the cohort of CGOs, we need to give them information that they can act on. We need to give them some success stories of things that we have all tried, some that worked, some that didn't. We also have to recognize that there's some generational variances where some things are going to work in one generation and some and not so in the other. But we really need to use you all as a sounding board so that we can get better at onboarding new CGOs. the development committee of the alumni board is working very closely with Michael and his team to find more volunteers, and we could all use your help in finding volunteers as well. And we need to make them feel welcome. So, and to make them understand that I know there are a lot of people out there that are uncomfortable asking for money, but I've made calls in which I never asked for money. They know why I'm calling. But it was more about having the contact with the individual, catching up and sharing stories that prompted them to make a gift. So it isn't always about the show me the money. It's really about building the relationships. The other part of it, the engagement. We've been building these Camel Connect programs for about 1.5 years now. Just in the fall alone, we did 5 Camel Connect events. We did 4 Camel Connect events at sports events. And we did, I think it's 5 or 6 holiday parties. And all told, we had almost 1,000 alumni attend all of these different events. If we can keep building that, that's another way to pull people in so that they're a little more warm and fuzzy when we do go for the ask. And we, as you heard, we're working on some events for this coming year. And then the other thing that we're doing, and I'm sort of giving you a peek under the hood, and I may get chastised for it, but we're working on an event that this is my term, and please believe me, this is probably not what it's going to be called, but the concept is brag your camel swag. And the idea is to get pictures of people wearing their college stuff, because we found some amazing stories of people that have run into college alums all over the world because they were wearing their Connecticut College attire. And the best story was somebody from the class of 23 was in Africa, with her Connecticut College t-shirt on, and somebody from the class of 12 started talking to her. They would never have connected otherwise had it not been for that t-shirt. So the idea of bragging your camel swag was something that the alumni board came up with. And then we discovered that June 22nd is Global Camel Day. Now, I don't know what the origin of that is, but we've decided to usurp it and make it Connecticut College Camel Day. And so our goal is to lead the idea of gathering photographs from some point prior to that up to that day, and use the June 22nd to show all the people wearing Connecticut College attire. I don't know if any of you watch Willie Geist on Sunday mornings, but he does his thing with the travel mugs for the Sunday Today show. Well, it's sort of the same idea. Where in the world are we going to find Connecticut College camels with their camel swag on? So, and we're trying to come up with some creative ideas around that. To me, that's a low investment event that gets people talking. And talking about Connecticut College, I think, is probably one of the most important things we can do. I think we have a tendency sometimes to be a little shy about bragging about our school. And so we're trying to find ideas that are fun to incorporate to get the conversation going. So, and that's all I had. Any questions?
I love the swag idea.
I do too. Chip, it's Warren Erickson. I do have a question.
Yeah.
I'm engaged, as you know, in our 50th reunion solicitations. So we're reaching out to as many classmates as we possibly can. One challenge that we're encountering, and I think it's something that, again, the college needs to address, is the accuracy of contact information. It's been really hard for us when we don't have up-to-date phone numbers, addresses, or emails. So whatever the college can do to support the CGOs and any of our volunteers so that it makes reaching out to classmates easier would be so appreciated. Right now, we're relying on Michael kind of personally in his spare time, which he has so little of, to use some of the sources that are available to the college, because we're Googling, but it's not necessarily helping us. But boy, if we could maybe send out an alumni survey. I don't know what the status of that is. I know we used to do that in years gone by, but how do we secure up-to-date contact information for our alums?
Noel, how did you do it? Because you guys updated your stuff about 5 years ago, didn't you?
I did it at the beginning of this fiscal year.
Okay.
I went through every contact. I have a paid White Pages account through work, and I did 10 or 15 contacts a night. It was painstaking.
You are amazing. That's exactly.
But our list also, I had to scrub our list because we had so many return to college and RTC people in our list. I needed to exclude them because we've never contacted them. So I needed to sort of segment our list, but it's too much work to ask a volunteer to do that. And Warren shouldn't have to do that. And I agree that Warren, I think the best way to do it is to find somebody the best way to do it is to find somebody that might know that person and reach out to them and see if they have accurate contact information. Because I do that often. I'll remember so-and-so was friends with so-and-so, and I'll have the right contact information for one person, and I'll reach out to them and say, hey, do you, this person might have moved. I don't have a phone number. Do you have current contact information? And we do a lot of that, and that, takes some legwork, but we have a lot of CGOs in our class.
The bottom line is every class needs a Noel in it.
It's not, I'm not gonna be able to get my head out the door.
That is the truth.
I guess the reason I'm even mentioning it is not just to recognize the advancement office and all it's trying to do to support us, which is so much, and we're so appreciative. But for those of you facing a 50th reunion within the next 5 or 10 years, this is something I underestimated. I really did. And I wish we had gotten on it sooner. I think it would have made our solicitations much smoother. And we are, I agree, trying to get contact information from peers and from friends has worked to some degree, but all those landlines have been given up, and that, it's just so interesting how hard it has been to get a hold of contact information for our people. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
We don't reach everybody in our class. We only reach about 300 people in our class. So.
Yeah, but I agree that the White Pages is probably the most effective tool to use, and because I have White Pages here at work, and I've done it through that too. The biggest problem, we actually, they were nice enough to hire an intern. Advancement was nice enough to hire an intern to try and go through and scrub our class list. And it was supposed to be a test that if it worked, we could spread it out to others. I found that the person who was doing it did a noble job, but didn't have the experience to recognize whether the information they were getting was accurate or inaccurate. So what they would do is they would verify, for example, an email address that I already knew to be bad, but because it was out on the internet somewhere, it was listed as good. So the White Pages has a tendency to be a little more accurate, but it is a bigger challenge for advancement that I hope will be addressed in due time. So. Anything else? Go ahead.
I had a 50th reunion last year, and the chair of our group really founded a thing called that'sthem.com, and we all kind of as CGOs just kind of took our own list and kind of culled it as we could, using different sources, White Pages, and also this that's them, and we got a few. It's painstaking, but it is what it is.
I mean, I can give examples of where I found information on a specific classmate, but it probably took me somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes for that one individual. And in some cases, it was 20 minutes. And then when you're trying to find 100 people, it adds up, the time adds up very, very quickly. So, but it is an ongoing issue. I don't think we have a solution today, but it's an acknowledged challenge. Anybody else?
Only to I guess join the pile on that, because I'm working on the 50th anniversary of Unity House, which hasn't been mentioned yet, but we're trying to integrate it into every connection, every event that's happening, and finding people has been a nightmare. One of the things that is just now paying off, having started in August, is the people finding other people thing. So someone who came back to the 50th Unity Fall event that happened that Saturday night during fall weekend, I've asked them to contact their classmates. So we've gotten a number of people, probably about 10 or 20 from the 70s classes now, that have heard that somebody came back in the fall. And so they're asking what they can do now. And like Warren, I wish that I had known how difficult it was going to be to have people touch base with other people. And we probably would have started, years ago, but earlier than we had the opportunity to. And for a number of the Unity affiliate groups, students did not leave information when they left Con. They were running from Con. So it's very difficult now to find current addressing, and email addresses, not so much. So it's hard. The college has a whole gap in students of color who have not left their addresses. LGBTQIA students who have not left their addresses. It's something that we have to think about. And I know, Noelle, paying for the white pages is something we've got to say we can commit to doing.
We're all going to go to Noelle's house and work on her account. No, the other part of that too is that when I was talking about getting new volunteers, there's nothing more discouraging than giving them a list of 10 people and realizing they can't reach 8 of them. So, this is.
You also won't get volunteers if you ask them to spend hours and hours and hours doing research. I mean, it's got to be easy. If you're asking somebody to volunteer, it's got to be easy for them. It can't be frustrating.
Yep. Absolutely. Anything else? Any questions? So it looks like we're coming right up on 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we're about at time. But thank you so much, Chip. It was really great to hear from you and hear your perspective on all of this.
Happy
Any
to
other
do it.
last
Give everybody
questions?
my email address. I'm always happy to talk to anyone.
Thank you so much. And
Good
thank
luck
you
with
all
that.
for your time this evening. If you have any other questions or follow-up, don't hesitate to be in touch with the CC Fund team.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Have a
Very
night.
informative.
All right. Good night, everyone.